Welcome, travelers! If you're new here, my name is Brenna. I am your same nerd time, same nerd channel DM, and welcome to Tales from the Catacombs. This is our tabletop RPG adventure that we are thrilled to share with you. This game uses the Dungeons&Dragons 5th edition system and rules, and the setting is a homebrew based on the rock album Razia's Shadow by Forgive Durden. We have a brief introduction to the setting that you can read at your leisure, and I hope you will, so you can be as immersed in the world as our players are. This is also a very special event, not just for the players and things happening in-game, but because we're also doing a giveaway. We are giving away a fancy, whatever you want, copy of one of the books from Dungeons and Dragons through DnDBeyond, one of these digital source books of your choosing. The winner will let us know. So make sure you are sticking around. Enjoy the session as we lead up to the break. Enjoy the giveaway as a thank you to all of you for us hitting 125 subscribers. 150 will do our next, so help us get there. Make sure that while you're here too, please be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a little comment below answering the following question. What is your favorite festival game? Think about that. Leave us a comment below answering that question and also your favorite part of today's session. And without further ado, please enjoy this episode of Razia's Shadow, a 1,000-year interlude. Let's recap. Session 29. From the horse's mouth. Novice emissary Vaughn had some interesting information for the novices about himself and his relationship to Captain Nora, but it was still not everything they were looking for. The novices were out of leads about the dangers of the hovel and running out of daylight. They rested with some dinner before splitting up for a time. Viola and Ste'yn bonded with the other women in their barracks, painting their nails as promised and having lively conversation. Viola gauged if they knew anything more about Ziva and Jeremy, but they didn't seem to have any new information except that Ziva still hadn't been seen. Cynthia arrived late to the ladies' night, looking notably tired after some time in the library. Snow enjoyed the company of those in the Wild Pike, listening to and playing alongside Vav and her harp. They earned some coin and camaraderie. Beau took a stroll through the city and came across some young hooligans attempting to pickpocket him. His anger got the best of him for a moment, and he realized a bloody change in his eyes scared the boys off. Viola's last errand was to visit Buttercup. She discovered an ability she didn't know she had, magic to speak with animals. Buttercup was only too happy to chat, but Viola found herself overwhelmed by a cacophony of horses, all interested in treats. She returned to the others briefly to tell them what happened, but she chose to spend her night back in the barracks while the others made camp at Saker's Keep graveyard. Ste'yn was disturbed by another vivid dream that left her with a lingering fear for the family they met in Cadence. The next day, all of the remaining novices were called for a meeting with Captain Nora, where they were given their next assignment for the days leading up to the Harvest Lamps Festival. They could choose one of 4 categories and work with a volunteer from the city. 3 of the 4 volunteers were familiar faces from Grati Minno: Canyon Gamel, Maria Delania, and Yonai Mesri. The last was a lovely young lady often seen at the Wild Pike, Nina Serenby. The novices decided where they wanted to work for the upcoming days and awaited their next instructions. So, what we're going to do here is a little bit of summarizing and a little bit of dice rolling to help with that. I'm trying to think, was there anything else that day anyone had to deal with? I think we took care of everything.
Viola needed Nora to give her the schedule. That was the only thing.
Right. Which she will discuss with you after you have had some time to speak with the novice emissary that you chose to spend these next 9 or so days with. So you get together with your novice emissaries and the volunteers from the city. They give you a kind of brief rundown of some of the types of expectations they have. You know the spiel. It's all very exciting. They give you a couple of things It's a very interesting mix, those two, that you note, Viola, when you go to speak to them. Maria, I don't think you had the chance to meet her. This tall, very lithe, half-elven woman. Long, curling, light green hair, a very airy voice and demeanor about her. Very kindly, very welcoming. It makes sense that she is doing what she's doing. Whereas Rochelle is just very quiet, kind of lets Maria take the lead, almost as if she's watching more than anything. But they tell you, you guys will be doing things like greeting people that are coming into the city. Maria makes a point to kind of give you the feel of what Grati Minno should feel like to people coming in, to these guests. It is a big city, but it's not overwhelming because there's always someone there to help you, to assist you, to show you where you need to go. You'll be helping with decoration all across the city. Most of what they tend to talk about is up by like residential areas. It seems like they're kind of dodging some areas, as if it's just more important for you to focus on where the merchants will be, where guests will be, which is mainly further north in the city. You guys are doing a little bit of like garden detailing, these kinds of things, just things that make the city feel very welcoming. Beau and Ste'yn, when Moonridge addresses you, it's that same kind of curt, very matter-of-fact tone as he explains to you what he absolutely expects as far as your undivided attention to detail and keeping everyone in this city safe. He talks about various assignments alongside the Peace Watch. He demands that you touch nothing and say nothing, especially on the first few days, unless given something to touch or someone to address. Your expectation is to essentially shadow the Peace Watch for a while, see how they operate, kind of monitor the people coming in and out of the city. Sometimes it's a matter of stopping to see what kind of goods they brought in. Of course, there can be some underhanded sorts, and we want to make sure the city stays safe. You're also assisting with some of the building, some of the protection around the inns, things like that. Those types of security, that type of safety. And Snow, both Bria and Nina are very lively as they are explaining to you in as excited a tone as they have for what you determine ends up being not super exciting, as it's a matter of a lot of organizing, a lot of backstage handling of things. So you kind of get the sense they're trying to amp it up, as you get to bump shoulders with some incredible performers, whether they're going to be on the big stage in the Wild Pike, or if they're going to be out and about in the city, like these individual performers who were brought in, kind of contracted to work with the city. So it's a lot of like making sure that their belongings are where they need to be and helping with like their costume changes and such, or preparing them for setup. And they give you this rundown of how you'll help with organizing all of these performers. But that does mean that you get to hear about some of the events that are going to be taking place well and early, and some of the performers that are coming in for the big event, like the Trial of the Troops, an incredible Battle of the Band situation that will be happening later on in the week of the festival. So you get that opportunity to kind of see some of them, and that might be a little cool. But overall, you realize it's relatively underwhelming as far as what they will have you do. With that being said, and Viola, when you're given all of your information, where you're expected to be, and the two who are doing security and safety, you guys are told that you will have some days that you guys are going to be out and about. So you'll be outside the walls of the city, and they'll give you more detail about that coming up. But that all being said, you kind of have a schedule for the week plus, and it's pretty full. They have every intention of utilizing you for a full 8-hour day with an hour lunch break and then right back to work. So it does, for some of what people want to do, it does put a little bit of a hamper on just the amount of time you might have, but planning around that schedule. Viola, it's not too difficult. Once the talk and such is done, the captain has since left the main hall, but it'd be easy enough to find her speak with her briefly. Between her and Rochelle is super easygoing, so she doesn't mind, when you need to go. She just asks that you save these appointments for either prior or after the day is done. Maria chimes in. Actually, we have our first roll of the night. Give me a persuasion roll, please.
No, I don't want to. That's a nat 20! I'm happy I used my Viola dice and not the new dice.
Maria chimes in even as you're having this conversation after talking to Nora. And if it so happens that you are finished with your tasks for the day, you may even be able to go early. If it helps with your arrangements, it sounds like you're very eager to do this training. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. I am very, 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 very excited. I feel like I've been waiting for this to actually start for forever. But yeah, if I get to leave early after I finish my tasks to go do this, then I will get them done like it's nobody's business.
Absolutely. And with the help of your friends here and with Rochelle and myself, I'm sure we can get them done very quickly.
Sounds great.
And I think with that, we set off into these days. So what I think I'm going to do is essentially kind of summarize what you guys would pick up on, what's kind of going on over the next 9 days. So you guys start your tasks. Again, depending on how you feel about it, they may or may not be rather lackluster. But there is information to be gained as far as the people you're working with and their connection to the city. Beau, keeping in mind what you're interested in doing, I was going to ask how much you had planned to kind of be in attendance with a number of these tasks.
Oh, he'd probably plan for about none.
Okay. I'm just gonna not at all. Okay. Very interesting. So you'd be called in the mornings. A couple of those mornings are very early mornings, so you guys have time to set out. They would almost certainly notice if you're not there. Did you have a plan for that?
Oh, he would just check in and then just sneak out whenever it's done.
Once you're done checking in?
Yeah. Basically, they would show up in the mornings, then after a little bit, just leave, stealth off.
Exactly that. Give me a dexterity stealth roll, please.
That's a nat 20.
That's lovely.
So that is 29.
Today. Woo! Happy
Today's
festival.
gonna be a great session.
Oh boy.
Happy festival day. Okay, yeah. So you spend a majority of this time not involved. Ste'yn, it doesn't take you long to realize that while you're off in your... Well, not necessarily.
Oh, I did
Unless he's
message
spoken to
Catherine that he would have told Ste'yn what he was doing.
Ste'yn knows what's going on.
Okay, fantastic.
And would at least a couple of the days try to help cover for him. Like if they're supposed to be out of the city or something, she'll try to get him. Like if they're partnered up or something, she'll work to get Beau and just take care of whatever they both needed to do. Not every day, but she'd help him out a few days.
Yeah, with a nat 20, on the days that you guys kind of can't quite maneuver being partnered or grouped together, he finds a way. Beau, so you go about your business. I'll say you've actually been reintroduced, you realize, to one of the citizen residents in Grati Minno. You two had a small spat when you guys returned. He was none too pleased with your attitude over in Kepner's command, and you learn his name is Inger Locke. The issue becomes you learn that he is in charge of a lot of things over at Kepner's command, including things like item procurement and test designing. He did work alongside Ziva, hence he knows her. And he isn't entirely cooperative, as you spent some days coming up with your design, yeah?
Yeah,
Some
but
time.
Beau, realizing who that guy would be, would just disguise himself as Maria with his masquerade tattoo.
Okay. Give me a deception roll with advantage.
So that is another nat 20. So that is another 29.
What in the world? This better be like the best.
The nat
session
20s are all
ever.
on my blood bat dice.
So you spend these days, some hours for these days, you've come up with this design for this item you're very interested in. You bring it over there. When you realize who this guy is, you make your disguise and approach, and he just seems super laid back. You didn't think this guy was that chill, and then you realize he's one of the artifratters, and they can probably get pretty chill. He's incredibly gracious, offers to help in every way that he can. You even pick up a small hint that you're definitely not the first person to try and bring a design his way, and something in his attitude makes him seem like a little too interested. Like, if you hadn't been aware enough, he might have tried to like steal your design or something. But heavens no, he's not going to do that to Maria. So your design is safe as he assists you with its creation. It still takes a lot of time. It's not quite finished by the end of this. It's getting there. Probably just needs a little bit more time before it's all said and done. But you get much help with that. Let's pop over to Ste'yn real quick, who's also doing her duties. So Ste'yn, you're staying with the group and assisting?
Mm-hmm.
During standard hours? Excellent.
She is. She'll do what she's told, and after hours, probably try and help out some other places.
In your time working with the security detail, despite that it's with Moonridge and don't have the best relationship there, it's also with Canyon, and Canyon is perfectly happy to show you the ropes, very grateful to you, and to Snow. I don't know that was ever corrected.
Thanks. And if you need anything, honestly, I owe you one. So if you need something, yeah, let me know. He starts.
Yeah,
to...
well, if you find anything else, well, if you find anything on them, actually, just let me kind of know if you figure out any kind of motive, or find anything. Maybe they like swallowed what they were supposed to be doing. So maybe if you give them a little, open them up and see what's inside, maybe you'll find directions as to what their job entailed.
It's Beau, right?
No, my name is Snow.
Snow. Right. Okay. Where do you come from that they do these things?
Where did I come from?
Honestly,
Oostrom.
I didn't take them for the gouge people open and see if someone's hiding something in there.
Those mines get crazy is all I can tell you. Are they being questioned right now?
They took a break.
Can I question them?
Ooh, that's unofficial. I
it could be off the record.
You're asking a lot.
I
mean, if you wanted to be there
apprehending them wasn't official either, so...
I understand that, but rather than put you in any further danger, which I would hate to do,
oh, I won't be in danger.
Put my job in danger. Snow, you're scary. You're scary.
Snow.
Yes, Snow is my middle name.
Viola looks at Beau very confused.
Mm-mm.
So you and Snow, he's very grateful for your assistance. So you learn over the course of these days, in all of your questioning of kind of how the city runs and its security, you kind of get some pointers. There are more means than you otherwise just obviously see to protect the city. There are magical means for kind of monitoring who is in it, who's leaving, what magic is done within the city. Even if it's not necessarily brought to people's attention, it does appear that it is being monitored, even if it isn't barred. There seem to be, just for the politics side, there seems to be some kind of blurring of lines, though, when it comes to the Peace Watch monitoring what, like, Guardian residents are up to. So it's seen, it's noted, but kind of you get a sense from Canyon, like, how they go about it might be a little, like, blurred. But the city definitely has means, and you can also tell that it is being ramped up as the festival has gotten so close. Your evenings, once you were done there, you've been spending time in Saker's Keep to help out, anywhere that they might need help. You run into Yonai relatively often in the evenings, strike up conversation with him, and he mentions that, you know, if you ever brought up Jeremy, and if not, his name comes up, and you learn their perspective on him, their thoughts on him. He's this kind of unassuming but brilliant cleric. Goaro could see his capabilities the moment that they met. and everyone took a liking to him. He's one of the first ones to be sent to help around the city, to guide acolytes in like the residential neighborhoods. He's known pretty well also at Kepner's command when a lot of the, arcana mixed with tools goes wrong. And they've used him also in the Champions Ward to guide healers when sparring might get out of hand. So he definitely has a presence in the city, despite the very awkward demeanor that you guys were introduced to. So you do learn that about him. And you also are hearing, I think Viola mentioned on her way back that she had heard the name Viver being kind of sprinkled around the merchants, the guests. And you do hear that name again. You hear it in like whispers, but like a lot of them. In fact, anytime you've heard it, it only seems to be coming from people who think that no one's listening. Give me either an investigation check or a persuasion check.
Ooh, we're gonna go with persuasion. 23?
It catches your attention that, Viola mentioned it once, and now you just seem to keep hearing it. Not when you're out doing your city work, not nearly as much, but you keep hearing these whispers about it among people in Saker's Keep, particularly the acolytes. If you bring it up to Yonai, seems very hesitant. He tries to pass it off. It's just, whatever, it's just stories. But when you push, he mentions that someone came in for healing, and this person was just kind of raving for as much as she could for how weak that she was when she got there about the Viver. She just was the word just kept coming up, and maybe that's what they're talking about when it's coming around like that. But whoever that was, they're not in the kind of healing area anymore that you can see. Snow, you've been spending this time enjoying the people of the Wild Pike. You actually get to spend a fair bit of time there just doing your normal duties as you have to assist with incoming performers. They all seem to be checking in with Nina. They all seem to be checking in and getting their things ready. So you've kind of been, as she said you would, bumping elbows with these performers that are well known in this area, very talented, and a number of them are definitely the ones who are performing in the Trial of the Troops. But in your downtime, you've spent time chit-chatting with the barmaids and the bar lads, and you've met a number of them. Obviously, you've met Nina Sarenby, you've met Adula Cross, Genevieve Doer, Rena Makerson, and Iltana Elmbell. And she kind of stands out among the barmaids that you've come across because she is a half-elf, and it's clear that she's taken her elven family's name for work, which you learn she used it because it's more impressive to the customers, tends to get her. It's kind of a hit or miss, but more often it works because sometimes they look at her like, oh, you must be one of those purists, go away. But most often they're like, ooh, you're exotic and different, here's a tip. But you also learn about her that she kind of wishes she knew more about her elven heritage. It's something that interests her, but she just doesn't feel like it's on her immediate list of things that she'll be able to do while she's just working like everyone else here in the Pike. She likes her job, but she's just working. You also meet a number of the bar lads. You meet Omar Koresh, you meet Leo West, Senny Corbin, Finn Selter, Josiah Benton, and one very awkward, you learn he's a new hire. His name is Nereid Peddleton. He stands out because he's kind of he's fairly androgynous, but almost leans in towards the feminine side in his appearance, in his stance, in his movement. It's just a lot more like feminine than the other bar lads. He's definitely a people pleaser, and he's really trying to pick up very quickly kind of how easily everyone else moves about, but he's struggling there, and he wishes that he was picking it up faster. You learn from Josiah Benton that he doesn't have the same prowess that their friend Vin had, but Vin was one of the ones who left very abruptly, and they miss him a lot. But he was grateful that at least Rosita and Darian seemed to send him off on a high note, with a little gift, and off they went. But he really misses him, and it just seemed strange how quickly he left, alas. Beau, I will also say, on the first day of all these happenings, you also got a very sudden, very loud in your mind, as if it were ringing in your ears, sending message. And you recognize Helena's voice immediately.
Good morning, Beau. My man Silk will be in Grati Minno in 4 days. Sorry to be absent. He'll collect. And bring your friends too.
And the message ends. And lo and behold, in a few days, you are signaled, whether it's another sending or a message that gets to you, that this man who goes by Silk is in Grati Minno awaiting Helena's goods. And she did ask for you to bring the others. Beau, it'd be up to you to tell the others. Do you let them know that Helena is asking for all 4 of you?
If he can find everyone, then he will. But he's not gonna spend hours searching for them if they're all scattered about.
It's a pretty early message. You could plan to meet. I don't think it'd be too difficult for the 4 of you. You'd know where Ste'yn certainly was anyway. You'd know where Viola was sleeping, probably be able to meet for breakfast and then go find this guy.
All right.
The 4 of you gather, and he mentioned he'd be waiting in the square, not far from where the Wild Pike is. And when you go about, there are so many of these merchant carts and booths set up now that the festival is days away. This is probably about 3 or 4 days in. But you do see one of the caravans that is engraved and inscribed with the symbol and the name of the Silver Cat. Standing outside of it, you see this pretty gruff-looking man. He has dark skin. He's not like fat heavy, but he's like muscular, big heavy. There's nothing lean about this guy. He's built like a linebacker. He's got his thick arms crossed. He doesn't look angry per se. He just kind of has that resting face. And as he's kind of leaning back, all 4 of you can give me a perception check.
Got 9.
11.
24.
Ooh, wow.
7.
So he actually has a 12, because, this is a couple days out, so I'm just going to use psionic dice, because he's going to get a long rest anyway.
Beau, Ste'yn, and Viola, as you guys are approaching, you obviously notice the gruff-looking human outside of the cart. It's a fairly large cart. Who knows what kind of goodies it's got inside, but it's not as big as the one you saw when you were in Hazelford. This one is definitely just for travel and small amounts of goods. But you 3 also see, sitting in the front of the cart, little legs kicking, you guys see a Benny sitting there, holding onto the edge and kind of just kicking playfully, looking around the city. Her eyes are just lost amidst the lovely decorations that Viola has assisted with, streamers, and you see some kids running around with kites, parents chasing after them with goods in boxes and bags. She doesn't even seem to notice you guys as you approach, and she's just looking up and enjoying the festivities. But as you approach, the man Silk sees you, nods at all of you, then looks back at you, Beau. So, you got the stuff?
Yes. Wait, so Snow, I believe, has the mirror in the bag of holding.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess
The
he'll
barrel
pass
was in
the
the room.
barrel, because he would have grabbed that. Because it turned out the barrel is only like a gallon or something. It has only a gallon
Like
in
2
it.
gallons, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, I'll pass those things over.
Did you return the safe as well?
He gave
Before?
that before.
He takes the items one at a time. He'll stop you from giving him more than one. And he pulls out a little piece of parchment, kind of checking things off as he goes, inspects it a minute, takes the next thing, inspects it, checks it off his list.
Viola tries to look at the list whenever he gets it out.
Give me a perception check with disadvantage.
No. That is a 16.
You can just catch the edge of the list and where he's crossing things out with some ink. You see the edges of the words. You can see like portrait, you can see barrel, but not a ton of it. You do also peek that the list is he's actually holding 2 pieces of parchment, but the other one, you can't see what's on it. It's completely covered. But he does appear to be holding 2 pieces of parchment. Whatever else is on the other one, though, like what little bit you may be able to see, that ink on there is not black. It looks like almost like a brownish.
I don't think she's going to be that nosy.
Okay.
I was thinking about it, but I don't think she'll be that nosy.
These are professionals.
That guy's kind of big, too.
He seems satisfied with what you've provided. He nods and thanks you. And then he looks at you, Ste'yn, and he walks over towards you. She didn't forget about you. He hands you a piece of parchment.
Ste'yn just rolls up the message and, after reading it, and hands it back to Silk, saying, I will ask in your twilight.
All right, not much time till then. And he pockets it, looks at the 4 of you. Well, I think our business here is done. Unless you have any need for Miss Helena.
Nothing back from that letter that I wrote?
Oh, seems not yet. Ste'yn, his eyes drift over towards you for a moment. Well, if that's all.
I think that's
Hope
all.
You guys, great. Hope you enjoy the festival then. He goes back towards the cart, and by this point, Abeni has kind of watched the interaction. Everyone give me another perception check, please.
10.
15.
10.
26.
Ste'yn and Viola, you guys see cute little Benny looking in your direction. She seemed to be looking back and forth between whoever was talking. But then as Silk is getting into the cart and he seems to be getting ready to move the wagon, you guys notice that her eyes are on Beau. And even as the cart's pulling away and she gives a little wave to you guys, her eyes seem to remain on Beau.
Beau, Benny's got an eye on you. I don't know if you noticed that.
Mm-hmm. Been watching you a lot. This whole time.
What do you want me to do about it?
Give her a
I'm
little
just
wave
telling
or
you.
something.
Why?
You want a flower to give her?
No.
Acknowledge her.
Aren't
It's
they
the nice
leaving?
thing to do. They are, but you can still show that you noticed she was looking at you.
I didn't.
We just pointed it out.
So you
Snow
noticed.
stands behind Beau and waves.
Beau will give a little wave.
See, that wasn't so hard, was it?
You wave towards her, Beau, and she almost immediately stops. And then she like quickly spins around in the seat as they drive off.
I guess she wasn't looking at you for all that friendly reasons.
Did you do something to her last time?
No.
Insight check.
Sure, go for it.
21.
27.
I mean, he
No,
got.
26.
Deception or persuasion?
I mean, he got a 22, but as far as he's concerned, he didn't do anything to her.
Yeah,
That's fine.
he seems honest. He seems like he does not understand the situation. Children really seem to like Beau a lot. We don't understand it, but they do.
What's in your letter?
Hmm?
Dan, the only one that got a letter.
I had asked Helena for some information on something, and she wants something from me first.
What?
And that's between us.
It's not dangerous.
Said it on the
is it?
letter.
Hmm?
It said on the letter you couldn't tell us.
Yes.
Alright. Insight
Not
check.
dangerous, is it?
Sure, you can't even tell us the topic, and Snow will use Detect Thoughts to see what she's thinking about.
What does he see?
First of all, he sees a flash of one of the rubies, or maybe a little pile of rubies. Then he sees an image of how he has managed to describe Taryn to her. Just like the idea of Taryn's face, essentially female Snow but blonde hair. And
It looks
then
wacky.
a brief line about needing to get one for information.
And what did you roll against his insight check?
Let's see. She got a 14.
Oh, he got a 10.
Snow, your face pops up too at some point, and over the course of the minutes, especially as you're asking about it.
Did you want to spend another charge?
Viola wants to know if it's dangerous or not.
What I'm asking about? No, not dangerous at all.
Okay.
Just trying to learn about something. Thought she might be able to help.
Well, I'm sure.
Would that something concern me?
Not directly.
Do you guys not trust Ste'yn?
What do you mean?
Well, you're asking her a lot of questions. She's been with us for so long. She's very
She's
wise.
also lied
Everything-
before.
I just was wondering what was in the letter. She said she couldn't
She
tell
doesn't
us.
have to
I
tell
dropped it.
you.
I dropped it now.
Oh, I know it, but now I'm so just like, I don't know.
It's
It
fine.
just seems like you guys
Viola.
are being a
It's
little
fine.
pushy.
Like, we wouldn't be the same way with them if they'd been in my position.
I don't know.
For one thing, I am curious about everything. Yeah, everything. So there's that. Also, when it concerns me, I think I have a right to know.
What
Why
made
are
you think
saying
it concerned
concerns
you?
That was amazing. You spoke at exactly the same time and said the exact same thing. Could you do that again?
Once you answer our
Probably
question.
not.
Nope. I'm sorry, I don't remember what the question was. I was just blown away.
What made
by
you
that.
assume it was about
Oh.
you?
I had a good feeling.
How?
I can read people well.
Insight check.
Yes.
12.
Snow will use his inspiration as well to roll with advantage.
Okay.
Well,
12?
We are just
Oh, I
really
thought
in
that-
sync here.
Okay, so y'all did get the
Well,
same thing.
yeah.
Asked the same thing, rolled the same thing.
He seems honest.
Okay. Well, what time of day is it?
Probably mid-morning. You probably have to get back to your tasks if we're going to them.
Yeah, I need to go get back to my tasks so I can finish them so then I can go continue training with Storkum.
Bye.
Right. As they're splitting off, Ste'yn will try to catch Snow's attention for a second. I'm trying to learn a little bit more about what's going on in Vendella and what's could possibly be happening with Terran.
But you didn't think that was my business?
Not directly, as I said, but anything I learned would definitely be your business. But the process of gaining the information, I didn't see a reason to let you know I was trying that until I had something. I don't have anything. Didn't
So
want
why
to
are you
get your
telling me
hopes
now?
up. You were more curious than I planned on.
You know me at all?
Yes, that's all.
I didn't say anything else.
Off to test, then off to work.
You guys make your way for the day. For the rest of this time, Beau, since you were also not making time to work and were set to task for your own things you were interested in, you had planned to make your way to the library to get some materials and such, but discovered what you need is not in
Well,
fact...
he was doing that once he was done making something. If he hasn't made it yet, then he's not gonna take time from doing that to do something else.
So all of his time otherwise is focused on...
Yeah, I mean, I sent it in the order that he was doing until completion, because
Okay.
from my understanding, crafting an item, especially if you get artificers to assist as well as multiple people, it doesn't take too long, because in general, according to downtime activities, it's about 2 work weeks for an uncommon item, but it can be mitigated by the fact that artificers do things faster for crafting items in general, and if you have more than one of
Okay.
them, it decreases the time even more.
Okay. Well, if I'm retconning, then I'm retconning. But so that I would say that with the assistance and like with additional assistance because you had rolled so well, I'd say like right before the end of these days, it probably split the time in half. So around a week going into this, your item would be complete, and so you'd have a couple days
Okay.
still before things. So either the spells or the book, because the book is actually giving you, it's a little trickier than it seems as well.
Well, the book he was planning on doing just with the short rests. So every single night over the last, I guess, 8 nights, it would be
Okay.
2 hours for part of that 8 hours of, not short rest, long rest.
It's still giving you, you're not able to get through it as quickly as you'd like.
Yeah, no, that's
Um,
fine.
Okay, so let's say this then. In your last few days before the festival's set to begin, you realize you need to make your way to Stormwatch Tower, where the wizards and the arcane students like to be. Your good friend you forgot about, Herschel, we're gonna say he's one of those guys who grows his hair long and throws it in a ponytail, and otherwise the rest of him looks all like clean and put together in his wizardly robes, but he just lets his hair grow long. Some graying from stress. You may not remember him well, but
He wouldn't,
seems to
so.
remember you well enough.
What kind of, are there any big names in this tower over here that have been pursuing the arts for a long time?
Well, there's, Sir Joseph is the headmaster here.
Okay, so it's not like anyone of like renown or anything like that. It's just a lot of people that have been dedicating a lot of time to this.
Something I'd like you to roll here, and I can't think of what it might be. Roll to not wholly offend.
22.
You start to see his jaw drop as you say, "Oh, just nobody of renown." Then he seems to catch himself as he straightens himself and looks quite put off. I understand you are new to this, but I wouldn't say it quite that way. Maybe you should just go on over to the library, and I wish you the best with the pursuits of the arcane and the deep intellect. You should probably just go.
Reminds you that there are no proper assignments happening right now for you novices. Looks forward to letting you spend as much time as you'd like, but even the teachers here are taking some well-needed rest.
Well, this is after he got the thing, right? Because otherwise he still got Maria in his back pocket. So just...
For what thing?
I mean, you said that it took him a week to craft what he wanted, so this would be a day where he didn't need Maria for something else, so he would just use Maria for here. Maria's just all
Maria's
around.
not here.
No,
Maria's not here.
his disguised self tattoo, his masquerade tattoo. He would just disguise himself to get inside.
Give me another deception check. Not with advantage this time.
That is a 19 plus 6, so it's 25.
Herschel seems a little confused, but doesn't bar your entrance any further. So you're able to go inside of this beautiful, grandiose tower. You walk in and it's just this large, round atrium, sconces of various colors, winding staircases, walls of shelves of books and other arcane devices. You also don't know your way around very well. There are a few people scattered about, but very meager few. Give me a persuasion check.
29.
You are looking about. You obviously don't care too much about time because it's not like anyone's expecting you. You're obviously where you need to be. So as you are looking around Stormwatch Tower, you get a little turned around in these beautiful halls that almost remind you of home. There's a coldness about it, just this stoic air in this building, maybe even gaudy or haughty. As you're going up and looking for where materials might be, you poke around, you run into Boondraig and Cynthia. They're both studying. Clearly they can't pull themselves away from these books. They may or may not also be ditching some tasks. Actually,
Good for them.
Actually, no. Boondraig would not do that. Boondraig would be set to task. Cynthia, on the other hand, you run into Cynthia.
Well, it could just be his shift hasn't started yet, Boondraig's. If you want him there. It's not like they're spending their entire day working.
But Cynthia for sure is very clearly like nose deep in a book. And she is sitting across in one of these small classrooms. She's actually sitting across from a kind of small looking man, elderly, very wrinkly skin, kind of large ears, all underneath a cap. And from outside the door with a little glass window, you can see them seeming to discuss some matters, but they seem to, at least the man catches your eye, sees you there, waves to you friendly, kind of mouths, "Can I help you?" If you want to open the door, and he's actually, we'll go through it. He's happy to help you get your hands on what materials you need, because obviously you're Maria, and if you need help with something, he's happy to help you. So yeah, you get your hands on some parchment, whatever books you need for a couple of spells you have in mind. I will also say that you notice as he is talking to you, Maria, Beau, Cynthia just never looks up from her book. She's just like, she is in there, whatever it is, she is deep in her study. And she's looking a little bit pale. She probably needs some time outside in the sun. She's looking quite pale.
I mean, half of a party is pale, so he doesn't feel anything about that.
That's fair. But the last time you saw Cynthia, she was not this pale. And then as far as the wizard's diary, I will send you what I think you'd have time to get through in that.
So I can go ahead and add those then to my book.
Yes, you may now. I'd say you'd still have to. There's a gold cost. Still spend that.
Well, I mean, he was going there to get supplies for that gold cost because we don't make anything.
And
Otherwise, that's like 150 gold.
What?
It's $50 per level, or 50 gold per level. That's what I was saying.
Oh,
we
you
make
were
barely.
wanting to skirt by without paying.
I was very
I
clear with
see.
that.
I see.
I mean, it's all. I wasn't trying to skirt by. I very specifically said this. But I mean, if we get paid
It's 50
naughty,
per?
it's 50 per level. That's what I was saying. We make basically nothing at this guardianship.
I mean, you make like low soldier wage.
Yes.
Not arcane wizard wage.
Which is why he's going to take his wages from other sources, which is their resources.
That's fair. I'll allow it this time. I'm gonna pay
Yeah, I
closer
mean,
attention
I
next
feel
time.
like
I'm not
I
walking
wasn't
away
trying
with, like,
to do
second
that.
level spells
Yeah, I wasn't
for
trying to do
free.
it for second level
Okay.
or anything like that.
Okay.
I was thinking
We'll
about
give
that.
we'll give you your spells because that tattoo is very fun, and
All
I
right.
like that this worked. I appreciate the nat 20 on this tattoo. Okay, and that'll essentially lead us to will lead you to the night before the festivities are set to kind of begin. Let's pop over to Ste'yn, summarize the rest of your time here. Ste'yn, in your time at Saker's Keep also, you have run into Lear a number of nights. She's also there praying. It's not in the same chamber as you, but she respects your time as you need any quiet time. But you can tell just with her personality, she's always just very eager to talk to you. She seems to have taken a liking to you. You both have heard more about the funeral arrangements for Kalain. It seems that they've adjusted what they initially intended to do, which would have been to make it more of a learning opportunity for all involved, both the novices in the guardianship and the citizen residents. But they've felt the need to make sure everything was kind of contained and very proper based on who it is. And you've already learned a little bit from Lear, Kalain's Slyweaver's status, where she is from. You learned that there are actually Goliaths that were brought to Grati Minno, probably left out as soon as they heard about the passing. They are there in Grati Minno helping to make sure everything is done right and the right care is taken. They have brought some necessary items in an appropriate urn that you were told it's this beautiful carved stone urn. Whether it's actually holding her body or something symbolic, it would be carried and processed with that. And the procession is going to go through the city. It's supposed to be from the place of death out to like where the person is born, right? Where their home is. But obviously they have to change some things being where they are. They're going from as close to Undra as they can essentially get reasonably. And you know that they're going to process through the city, out through the front gates, and to a bonfire that is also going to be part of the opening ceremonies for the Harvest Lamps Festival. It's meant to be a celebration. It's not meant to be a time of mourning, but a celebration of her life, of her strength, her charisma, the honor that she brought to her clan. You're also told that the fire is going to be lit with her urn in the center, and that it's the captains of the guardianship, these people in this position of authority, who are going to be leading the procession. Her own captain is meant to be the one to place the urn, the one who had direct authority over her. So you get that fun insight into the burial rites. And Lear is just so excited to learn this ritual, and most of your conversation throughout the week is her jabbering on about how excited she is to learn it. Give me a perception check as well, please.
That is a 33.
On the last night before the funeral is set to begin, you spot an acolyte passing you by in Saker's Keep. She's on her way in while you're on your way out. And you recognize her, oddly enough, even though you only saw her once on your very first day at Grati Minno. And when you had seen her, she was assisting someone. And it gave you that strange feeling. You'd felt it from the top of your head and just down into your heart. The familiar warm touch on the top of your head, like a soft, kind pat. The acolyte actually stops and turns to you as if she noticed that you had noticed her, and she smiles. And she introduces herself as Hannah Fern. And she tells you, she's, polite conversation, whether or not you mention what you felt when you saw her the first time. But she smiles at you as she's ending this interaction with you. And she says that she is certain that meeting you is destiny. Nods to you, wishes you a happy and merry festival tide, whatever. And she heads inside, disappearing around the corner.
All right.
What?
Nothing, I was joking. I said kill her.
Oh gosh.
She sounds suspicious.
Be a weirdo.
I mean, it has been a running theme with these acolytes. Even
Listen, just
Ste'yn-
because you guys think they're bad news doesn't make them actually
Well, I was
bad
just saying
news.
them being weird. Even Ste'yn's just like,
Oh, no.
they're so weird.
Why are they so touchy?
I mean, Jeremy had a pendant that was a blood container, okay? That is weird.
No, that's the most normal. What are you talking about?
Oh, goodness.
Y'all
Depending on the
wild.
god.
Speaking of that pendant, is Snow making charisma saves? This
Snow, can
whole
you
time?
please make me 3 charisma saves? No, seriously.
Because he's not
3.
gonna put it away until he realizes whether or not it's doing something, and he can't know if it's doing something until he loses memory.
That's fair.
The first one is
gosh.
a 25. The next one, if I didn't have advantage against charm effects, that would be a natural 1, but instead it's a dirty 20.
Okay.
20.
I mean, he's got a lot. He's got a lot easier than Beau did. He only likes to do 1 for 9 days. Oh, wait, 3 for 9 days. Beau is doing multiple a day.
Both special. I don't know. It's just summation. is
I can
all.
make more.
If we were just rolling every day, like if we were playing.
Well, it
out
sounds
every
like
day,
he
we'd be
wants to
rolling.
fail it anyway. So
You can choose to fail it if you'd like. You can meta
All
and
right.
choose as the character to fail.
Sure, I will do that then.
it's for research.
Just so that he will now know it is.
Yeah, it is.
That's
I mean,
why
I know what
he-
you're
that's why
saying.
he put it in his pocket instead of in the bag of holding.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because he wants
you're
to know
really,
if this is what was doing it to Beau.
Oh, you're really gonna hate this then. I'll get back to you in a moment. Did I not stop on Viola? Viola, don't let me skip you.
It's okay.
Why? Why?
I thought she just
I
wasn't
didn't have
doing
any
much.
super major
Yeah, I thought she just.
No.
I would.
That's literally just me not scrolling far enough on my note.
Oh, I really
okay.
thought that you just
No.
Viola wasn't really doing much when you went back to Beau. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And Kassie didn't say anything, so I was like, I guess she just really isn't.
Well, I went back and looked at my requests. And I guess my requests weren't like anything too crazy,
It's
but I thought
benign.
she'd at least tell me something about training with Storko.
No. No. Oh my goodness gracious, Viola. Okay, Viola, I apologize. I'm so sorry. So you've been spending this time, the chunk of your hours yours is maybe a little bit more fun. You have a lot of decorating and such to do, but it's also not just decorate. It's, you have to get up on up heights, and there's a lot of lifting and going back down and going back up and going back down. It's a little more manual labor than just decorating. You're fairly fortified, like you're a sword fighter, like you're good to go. And it doesn't make it that much more difficult for you. You do spend some time finding the different training areas, which is very exciting. You see up in the champions ward, towards the north end of the city, or at the north end of the city, you see that the Peace Watch up in the Champions Ward is a lot more active. There's patrols as merchants are entering and exiting the city. There are patrols watching over the people who are training. You also kind of learn as you are getting to know the people who spend some time up there in the Champions Ward, even just in the training area, as it is some people who have high hopes of being Peace Watch themselves. You learn that they've received a lot of kind of specialized training in the last few weeks from some high-ranking Peace Watchmen from Dranfeld. They don't give his name, and you kind of get this sense that it's sidestepped a bit until they say that it's, they could, of course, discuss it more once they're ensured that this new training is kind of working the way it should, making sure that they are properly trained. Give me either a persuasion or an investigation check.
I guess we'll go with investigation. That's an 11.
Curiosity gets the best of you a little bit. You kind of try to poke around and see if you can kind of figure out who this other amazing person might be. Obviously someone who could help you train. Like, you've already got the Avenger essentially wrapped around your finger, of course. So you clearly should get to know who this other person is, but you can't quite get people to, well, not people to speak up, they won't, but you can't quite find the information. Just whoever it is clearly...
Ask Storkham during one of her trainings?
You can. You can give me a persuasion with disadvantage.
Yeah, it's a 6, so definitely not happening.
That's okay. He mainly laughs it off, throws out another compliment at your eagerness to learn, and he is... And you only have a couple of these trainings in this amount of time. You can like squeeze in a third one, but it's like a little bit shorter, but not a ton. You're learning a decent amount. He's a very good teacher as well, it seems. You also take a look at the training down in Saker's Keep. You know that they have a training area as well. It's outdoors. It looks like light dust, dirt area that's closed off. There are some benches along the side. There's a number of weapons that are along the side. You see a sleigh and like these heavy iron balls that are being put on them and then they're being dragged across. Various forms of training. You see some bulkier acolytes in bigger robes, and their arms are maybe squeezed a little bit in these robes. These guys are clearly not messing around. They are training people to protect others and to end fights. If you go just, right after whatever your duties are, you do see Habodai there. He seems to be enjoying some time there. He doesn't use the weapons, though. You see a lot of his stuff seems to be like body weight types of exercises or using those heavy like metal things for lifting and such. You've not seen him lift a weapon, but a few times. He seemed to be a lot more into like brawling, but he is there. You don't see Warrit, but you do see him there. And if you do ask, he just says that he tries to convince him to come with him to these little training areas, but it's really only going to happen when fewer people are around. You do spend your evenings, though. The last thing you do, you go to visit Buttercup. Have you used your spell again since?
She didn't know how she used it the first time. Has she
I
figured
know.
out how to turn it on and off again?
Well, she's definitely not like wishing for them. Like, she's not trying to. I don't even know how much she would actually be talking to Buttercup after last time. I think she wants to talk. She wants to talk to Ste'yn more and see if Ste'yn can help her figure out what's going on before she talks to the animals anymore.
Ste'yn, give me an Arcana check.
I was gonna say, why Ste'yn on the people that execute
Ste'yn
magic?
did say that she's happy to help any of you guys, whatever it is you guys are up to. So if you approached her about it, I'm sure she'd be happy to help.
Well, that and Viola spent the most time with Ste'yn. She feels like the most comfortable telling her because they've spent time one-on-one before they even got here.
It's a 19.
Yeah, you didn't believe her at first, but when she brings it up to you again, you start to consider that you're not sure how, but somehow there is definitely some kind of arcane something going on. Viola can't necessarily explain it, but something clearly happened for her to describe it as she did.
Well, that's exciting for you.
But I don't know how to control it or turn it off or on. And I don't want to talk to them anymore because last time it went poorly.
maybe focus on not doing it then.
I think I can manage that.
My magic is something that's a gift from my goddess. Snow might have more understanding of how it works in other forms, but he talks about it reshaping the world or controlling the will of the world or something like that. So maybe if you don't will it strong enough, it won't happen.
I mean, that's a solid advice, because there are times where I'm definitely like, man, it would be so nice if they could talk back to me. So,
But if you want more advice on that, that's much more Snow's wheelhouse. I just tell you to pray about it.
well, I'm definitely not going to pray about it. Sorry, Ste'yn, I love you.
It could be a blessing from a goddess, god or goddess. You don't actually know.
Well, I ain't doing that.
I don't
Animals-
see why they would do that, because I've done nothing for them, so I don't see them doing anything for me anytime soon.
Just because you haven't done something right away, it doesn't mean that they haven't taken a notice of you. I hadn't done anything when Atala chose me.
I guess that's true. Well, I'm gonna ask Snow for some advice before I go back to Saker's Keep and sit in a room and talk in my head for however long you guys do that for.
You mean meditate?
Sure, if that's what you want to call it. I thought we were calling it praying.
It's a form of prayer. You have different forms of fighting.
Okay.
You have different forms of prayer. Meditation is one of those.
What are the other forms?
There can be verbal prayer, where you actually speak aloud or talk about your god aloud, or maybe even with someone else, and it's more active. There is prayer through that which you do. A lot of my spells, a lot of my casting, it comes as I ask for Atala to give me the grace to do that which I need, to have her blessing in the moment, to carry out the spells that I want. It's a form of prayer for that. There's also praying for other people, asking her to guide them, light their way.
It seems like there's still a lot of talking and asking.
Oh, yes.
Which kind of seems like it's all like one
But
thing.
aren't
you're
there
either
just many
talking
different
out
ways to
loud or-
hit somebody with a sword?
That's true. You use, well, I mean, there's other weapons you can use, but I
Other
get
ways
what
to
you're
hit
saying.
people.
I get what you're saying. That makes sense. I'm following what you're saying.
Good.
But like I said, I'm gonna ask Snow for some advice. Maybe I'll talk to that Maria, because Cynthia said that she helps her with her wizarding stuff. Now I don't think I'm a wizard of any sort, because I don't really like reading books. I did enough of that growing up, but she seems to know a lot about magic, so maybe I'll ask her about it.
All right. So you do also spend some time in the Wild Pike and in the novice hut and getting to know your fellow novices a little bit, getting to know some of the people in the Wild Pike. You see Snow is also spending a good amount of time in the Pike. So you guys can spend some time together listening to the performances. There's one time you go in and you can see Snow is actually working together with Vav. You can see her showing him some strings and some chords on her harp and then letting him follow along. But you also, in some of the nights that you guys both of you are enjoying the Wild Pike, I need both of you to please give me a perception check.
6.
18.
Snow is enjoying himself. The music is lovely. You're there on one of the nights that Vav is performing. It's a beautiful piece. She's not using her harp that night. But Viola, you notice that you would come in the middle of one of the performances maybe, and as it's winding down, you notice someone approaching her afterwards. Someone very familiar that you see. It is Torval approaching her. They're having some brief conversation after her performance before he goes his own way. You see this a number of times, and you guys realize one of the nights, we'll say it's the night before the festivities are set to begin, you learn that Vav is going to be kind of another main performer that evening. And you hear her being introduced to the crowd that are all sitting enjoying their food and their drinks. You hear, ladies and gentlemen, to guide us into the evening hours, please give a very warm welcome and round of applause to Vav Campri. And people start applauding and cheering and as she gets up on the stage and begins performing. And it's a lovely performance. And again, that afterwards, Torval is speaking to her after said performance.
Viola would go up and talk to him because she wants to say thank you to him for the whole fight situation, because that got her to be able to train with Storkum, and she's been doing that and enjoyed it. And she'd also ask him why he keeps walking over to Vav after every performance to talk to her.
He's less sure about your thank you, but he shrugs and says you're welcome. And then when you ask about Vav, he looks back at her, looks back at you. That's my little sister. Of course I'm going to watch her perform.
That's your little sister?
Yeah, there are other things she could be doing, but she's always been stubborn and she's going to follow her passions and she wants to play instruments, so can't exactly stop her.
Yeah, I wouldn't have expected her. I mean, she's so nice. It's kind of surprising that she's related to you.
After going over to thank him.
Negative charisma.
You know, it's not the first time I've heard that, but most people are saying it and then they laugh afterwards. But all right.
Oh, clearly it makes sense. Just doesn't make sense that you guys are related.
Uh-huh. We all have different skills. And
is she the youngest child?
She is the youngest, yes.
Okay. Are you the oldest, or do you have other siblings?
We both have an older brother.
Ah, so you're the middle child. It makes sense now.
I thought Viola didn't understand
Well-
siblings. a few sessions ago, she's like, I'm an only child. I don't get this.
She's just making stuff up now.
Yeah, she's like, this sounds right.
She read a book on it somewhere.
Yeah. So one of the people in the Pike explained siblings to her. She spent enough time there. He just says, well, I'm glad that you have this opportunity to work with the Avenger. Please stop calling him by his first name. And I hope it's fruitful for you. I hope you go far, Viola.
Him by his first name?
Respect for a title is really what it comes down to.
He introduced himself to me as Storkum, though.
He can also forget himself.
Well,
he's a good friend of mine, I know.
I respect his wishes rather than yours, to be honest. Or I'll ask him next time I see him.
Sounds great. Sounds very prudent of you.
Well, I'll leave you to it, and she'll wave and turn and go back to Snow. And when she gets back, she'll tell Snow that Vav is Torval's little sister, that they have an older brother too.
And Viola, you also, the last thing you wanted to do was in the evenings you were going down to the stable. I think that's what I started to mention. You've gone down to the stable, and Sazian just, as he's giving you another packet of these little baby carrots, these actually appear to be, they look almost like crystallized, but they're coated in like sugar. They look like they were cooked a little bit and then coated in a bit of sugar, just as an extra treat. And he reminds you, or he mentions at least on the last evening before the festivities begin, that he'll be leaving the city. And he just wants to let you know, just assure you that Buttercup will, of course, still be taken care of. His brother is still going to be here, and she'll be well taken care of. He just wants to remind you of that, without ever looking up to catch your eye.
She probably has some things that she'd say to him, but we can do it later, so that way we can get through the other stuff faster and get to the festivities.
Snow, you found a few places to perform throughout this 9 days. You noted that probably your favorite place was one of the parks in the residential wards, in the residence ward. There are it's bustling with people who are out and about. You can see the crews who are helping to celebrate or to decorate. You may or may not see Viola throughout that time helping to decorate. You may or may not see Ste'yn on patrol looking around. You note there's a group of kids that you always see, the same group of kids. And among them, there's this one slightly older child. He looks like he's about 12. He's a half-elf. He appears to be very popular, kind of looks like he's viewed like an older brother to all of these other kids. He dresses pretty plainly, not shabby. And mostly you note that he walks with this little bit of a limp as he kind of jokes around and plays around with everyone. You learn his name is Burr Ironson, and he's a jovial enough boy. He seems more interested in making sure the others are okay than him sitting and enjoying the music. but he makes sure that everyone kind of sits around when you come by to listen to you play. Give me a perception check, please.
17.
In your search around the residence ward, as you've been looking for a place to perform, at one point you spot Captain Nora. She otherwise hasn't really been around. Of course, the novice emissaries have, as they've been assisting. They've been kind of your go-tos. But you spot her, and you spot her in the residence wards at one of these shops. Looks like a wood crafting kind of shop. She's on her way out, is only acknowledging people who are kind of in her path, but she seems to be beelining it south and, towards the rising gate. So she kind of moves quickly and she's on her way. The shopkeep kind of hurries out, but has missed her, has a slip of parchment in his hand, kind of like, brushes it off, crumples it up, kind of tosses it, not really caring about litter, it seems, in the area. And the little slip makes its way towards you. It's kind of interesting how it just seems to like float on the wind. You're just kind of taking note of the fancifulness of this slip of thin parchment spinning in the breeze and bumping against your boot. You pick it up, take a quick peek at it. It seems to be an inscription, along with kind of a design, something that was planned to be made. You note that the design appears to be a wooden spike. It's really beautiful, decorative wooden spike. It kind of reminds you of, it looks like it's meant for like a garden. Like it's a marker, but it's absolutely beautiful in its carvings. A lot of kind of elvish symbols on it. The inscription also is in Elvish, which I know you know. But the last thing for Snow, Vav does take a few nights that she's able to start teaching you to use the harp, to play the harp. It's a fairly easy instrument to learn for you. And as you're kind of getting a better feel for it, she's thinking, like, if you'd like, you can try it out, like a smaller performance for a smaller crowd at some point with her. Give me a performance check.
25.
Yeah, you pick it up impressively fast. It's like it comes naturally to you, and she is very impressed by your performance and your quick study. She tells you that it had taken her clumsy hands like a year to get a really proper hang of it, and you've done it in a few hours over a few days. You guys get to talking. She talks about the trial of the troops. She said that she actually participated last year with her boyfriend, and they actually came in third place. But absolutely nobody could compete with the Soaring Songbirds and their lead singer, Daisy Mansville. And usually the winners come back to perform as guests, but the Soaring Songbirds are currently kind of touring around the county. They're trying to earn money to pay adventurers to help them find Daisy, who had gone missing. And she was an absolute inspiration. She was so charismatic. She just really knew how to lead a crowd, really knew how to get people's attention. And Vav actually saves her harp for her bigger performances, like performances at the Pike, because Daisy had inspired her with this tremendously moving harp piece. It was just absolutely inspiring to her. So she shares that bit of herself with you. Unfortunately, as the night is ending, well, as you're stepping away from this conversation, she's about to perform again, and suddenly you find yourself sitting at the bar. There's a drink in your hand, and you're not quite sure how you got from, you were pretty sure you were walking over towards Vav, and now you're sitting at the bar with a drink in your hand.
The medallion works.
Yeah,
The medallion works!
he will move it to as soon as he realizes the yep, there's the familiar memory gap, he will put it in the bag of holding. And at some point during this time, he'll also tell Beau, next time that he sees him, he'll tell him, yep, that's what it was.
And there you have it.
Beau makes a note to
Sure.
kill Jeremy. No, not really.
No
Beau
takes
flips to a
backsies.
page in his spell book that's
Yeah.
just titled Hit List.
It's his death.
No.
It's his
Jeremy.
death note.
No takesy backsies. Jeremy's a goner.
Did Snow get any mail during these night days?
You all got paid. Well, no, you didn't all get paid.
I was gonna say, what is the amount that Beau is actually making here?
Let's find out. I'm gonna roll one of these other dice. With your very good deception check, they didn't necessarily recognize every night or every day that you weren't with them. So you actually get paid for 6 days worth.
At 2 a day? Or
Yes.
oh, okay.
If I've missed anything anyone wanted to get to, Snow, we talked about the lunch outside of such, which you're welcome to share at whichever point you choose. But if I missed anything...
He also would have spent, assuming Ste'yn still sleeps in the graveyard, he will join her, if for no other reason than the fact that he realizes he has a lot of her stuff, including her bedroll and blanket, in his bag of holding.
Yeah.
Fair.
So, and during that time, he will notice if she ever pulls out a particular handbook to read.
Of course she does. She finally has it. She wants to know. She wants to highlight.
Beau has also been going to that graveyard to sleep in the tree. So if at any point Snow needs some help.
Well, he already had a plan for it, as Brenna knows.
You could always send in Claude to distract her.
So Ste'yn, you guys settle in for the nights and you go to at least, I don't know, it's up to you, but you go to settle in for the night and pull out your handbook to finally read it. You haven't lost it this time. How exciting. And you turn that page to look through and you can't read it because the page is absolutely filthy. The letters are entirely blocked. You can't even scrape it away. It is ingrained into the page and it's stuck like that for an hour. It's not even worth it to try later if you know he's gonna do it again.
That effect is instantaneous and lasts. It doesn't go away.
Oh, just kidding. It's just dirty. It's
Where's
just
your
messy.
gods now?
You always try prayer. That doesn't mean it's gonna work.
You should just ask Atala what the rules of the guardianship are. You're not getting it from a handbook.
When she's finally
Pray for
level, I think
direction.
12 or 10, when she's able to divine intervention. That's a she.
Tell me, intervene for me.
Heaven only knows where y'all will be at that point.
Lastly, Snow will use the Easy Bake Oven to make 2 healing potions.
If Ste'yn notices him making these, she'll give him guidance when he's doing it.
With this stolen item.
Potions are useful.
You know, this theft is okay.
She also doesn't necessarily know where Snow got it.
Yeah, that's true. Connecting
it's not like
the
Snow
dots
stole
doesn't
it.
always come very quickly.
Oh,
to
just
say.
roll.
With guidance, that is a 24.
Okay.
So a little bit past the DC of 10.
Yeah, so I think you
Actually,
have enough
this-
ingredients for 2 potions.
For 2, so yeah, I'll go ahead and roll for the second one as well.
Mm-hmm.
More than enough. That's a 16 without guidance. And then it also says that it needs maintenance every 5 uses if you don't have, or no, even with proficiency. What is the proficiency exactly?
So it would be the supplies you need for creating potions.
So alchemical
alchemy
kit?
tools.
Alchemy tools.
Yeah.
I rolled a 3 on the D6, so there's 1 more use of it, but we have to buy more ingredients before we can use it in.
Viola, you also hear, while you're in the Wild Pike, just more of the chitter-chatter going around, you also hear the name Viver coming up again. Although what you notice there is that it seems to come up, and then every time it comes up, and you kind of overhear the conversation seems to swing very, very quickly to something else, but it does pop up.
Is she able to pinpoint who keeps saying it, bringing it up?
You can give me perception or investigation, your choice.
Perception. That is a 19.
You do notice who keeps bringing it up because in the evenings or times that you've been in the Wild Pike, a lot of people have been approaching you. People who appear to be from out of the city in merchant garb and traveling garb, etc. And they're all being very friendly. They want to offer to buy you a drink and buy you some food. But you also quickly realize that they're only doing it because in how you're dressed, they think you have money and they want you to buy their stuff. They don't actually care if you want the drink or the food. They just want you to buy their stuff. But you overhear a lot of traders and travelers. The word comes up. As it's coming up, they seem to get distracted easily by one of the barmaids coming by or one of the bar lads coming by and quickly taking their drink offer or their drink requests and their food requests, and then the conversation gets sidetracked by something that they said.
To specifically ask one of them about it, what they've heard.
They kind of just shrug it off, and if you're not interested in buying something from them, they don't really want to continue talking to you.
What do they have to sell?
They've got all manner of, they show you a variety of very shiny trinkets, gold this and silver that, and some things that have some gems on them, various pricey looking jewelry.
Can she just like try to pretend to be really interested without actually buying anything to try and get them to tell her what they're hearing about Viver?
Give me a persuasion check.
I'm gonna use my inspiration.
Sounds good.
That is 17.
You act very interested, but before you could make a purchase, just something they said really struck a chord with you, and you'd really appreciate if they would just a quick little story about what did they say? Viver? Isn't that like Elvish or something? And they seem to want to impress their potential buyer, and they tell you some very trumped up story about how these 4 adventurers who look like nobodies came wandering into some city. They were like really ratty looking, carried terrible armor and terrible bags. They were all sopping wet like wet puppies. They looked awful. But somehow they went out into the dawn and fought off an entire army of goblins that were being herded forward by these generals of bugbears, and they just wiped them out. And as they came back to the city, they looked as if the very gods had blessed them with this amazing shining armor and these gleaming daggers and swords. Their hair seemed to be blowing back in an unknown breeze as everything else was still, and a choir of angels sang behind them as the sun set on the day that the Viver let us all live. It's a masterful tale.
Viola is dying laughing.
They take it as just like, yeah, it really was a very exciting story. Isn't that something? And then he tries to sell you something saying like, actually these bracers here, and they're like gem encrusted, actually belongs to one of the Viver.
Do they now? Interesting. I don't believe you, so I'm gonna head on. Thank you. And as soon as she finds Beau or Snow or Ste'yn, she's gonna tell them. As long as she can like breathe to talk from how much she's laughing.
That's amazing.
You guys share these tales into the night, the dawn, as the dawn of the final day approaches.
Can I do one last thing before we get to the day?
Sure. If there's anything else, let me know.
Some point, Ste'yn would find Snow probably one night when they're in the graveyard, and she would explain that.
Yes, you had your sending and response in that time, but you'd already received it. But
yeah, no, that's not about. She's going to talk to Snow about the rest of the message that she gotten from Helena through Silk about how he wanted one of the rubies in order to get the information about Terran, or Helena did. And Ste'yn knew that those were too dangerous to try and actually barter with unless Snow really wants her to, and then she will acquire one somehow and use it for that.
No nods thoughtfully, but doesn't really have anything to say on it.
You guys set up your graveyard camp one more time. Viola does not. Viola is getting to know the girls or the ladies in the barracks, and I'll share some information with you about them too. I will say the conversations do continue every evening. They seem like they're welcome to more conversation, talking about the day. Cynthia continues to just keep her nose in the book, and each night seems a little less involved in the conversation and a little deeper into her studies. And then the sun rises. One final call, kind of a debriefing-ish from your novice emissaries and volunteers to dismiss you for the joys of the festivities, but also the appropriate solemnity. And they explain to you about the procession route, where you are welcome to stand, what you are welcome to do as the procession comes by, which is not interrupted before you are set free, for a few hours, as the procession will be coming into the Peace District shortly before sundown.
On our next tale, I have a favor to ask, not to give.
Right?
Ste'yn, did you finally get the chance to read that handbook?
You know, I took it out to read it, and I'm gonna have to talk to Vaughn and get you a new one because it was filthy.
I mean, I don't really care for the lady, but I feel like maybe this is a message from Atala. Just give up on it.
I have noticed you've been a little bit more preoccupied about the guardianship than your own personal relationship with Atala.
I don't think that you can, like, kill the other people with their hands on the pole in
I
order
won't
to
make
win.
anyone die. I'll just make some people sleepy.
Viola will walk up and offer to go against him.
Are you also participating? Did you want to try and win a prize today?
We're just here to cheer on our good friend.
Well, Viola's gonna call out to Captain Nora and ask for a word, like ask to speak with her.
Give me
If
a
it seems like
persuasion.
she could hear her.
Give me a persuasion check.
That's not gonna work. That's a 3.
You're not sure if she doesn't hear you or if she does not acknowledge it.